It's important to have a strong foundation, whether you're building a house or a community. And generally, the foundation goes unseen. Hopefully, that's not the issue with the Campbell River Community Foundation. Welcome to FaceTime. I'm Dan MacLennan. My guest today, Shannan Brown, Chair of the Campbell River Community Foundation. Welcome to FaceTime.
Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate having the opportunity to be here.
Treat me like an idiot. It's not hard.
Okay.
What is the Campbell River Community Foundation? What does it do?
All right. Well, the Campbell River Community Foundation is a nonprofit organization that's been in operation since 1997 in our area. But we're a little bit different because a foundation, what it does is it looks at endowing funds, in other words, making a permanent savings account for a community and the area, outlying area. So in particular, our geographic location extends up to Sayward, over to the islands, and then down to Oyster River. So we have quite a large geographic area. We don't sit within the city limits, so to speak. So we take in donations from donors, from supporters, sponsors, and we hold on to those funds, and they generate income for us. And that income is then used, 100% of that income, is then used to give out grants to nonprofits in our area who do a diverse amount of work in the arts, with youth, sports, fisheries endowment. So we kind of have a very inclusive view of what a community is. Essentially, you distribute the interest. Yes, that's what we do, is we distribute the interest. We term it most times as income that comes off a pool of money or a large fund of money that we hold. You've been here since '97. What was the germ? How did it get started? Oh, well, it's an amazing story about people who had a lot of vision. There is a Canadian foundation level that many people don't know of. The Community Foundations of Canada, CFC. We're trying to start more foundations in more communities. Part of that impetus, I believe, came from the Ottawa Foundation, as well as we have a strong partnership with the Vancouver Foundation. They have a mandate to help foundations in the province of BC, and they are a wonderful, wonderful knowledge partner for us to work with. So what happened was we had initial interest at the municipal level. Then Mayor Bob Osler worked with individuals in our community like Pat Martin and George Stewart and good old Mary Ashley. I love Mary Ashley. She's everywhere. She is everywhere, and for all the right reasons. So Mary attended a meeting and came back with the information to our municipal council and began working with them to register the charity and to get it up and running. But one of the most important things people need to understand is it takes such extraordinary long-term vision to set up a foundation because you're living off the interest. Those individuals had to really have a very long-term strategic view of what our community needed because the funds had to come in and slowly build over time in order to get to the point where we are today even. So from a community foundation perspective, low interest rates really suck. Yeah, it's not the best world. So I'm really happy for the lenders of the world, but we're an asset holder and we're not absolutely thrilled with that. If someone would like to borrow the money to donate to us, we'd sure be thankful, but I don't think that's the ideal situation for most people. Now, as you say, it takes time to build up the principle, and just recently, the foundation reached a major milestone. Yeah, I'm very proud to say that in 2011, the foundation reached its first $1 million in endowed funds for our community, a major accomplishment for our foundation for sure. How unique is this concept of the community foundation in a community this size? You know, there are community foundations throughout British Columbia. What makes them all unique is basically their size and their structures as they're doing them, but there is a number of them all over the place, and I had the great privilege of attending the CFC conference last year in Vancouver, and it was phenomenal to bump into little communities that had started one, and sometimes it was a huge donation that had come to them. It almost forced them to form a charity. Because they needed to do something with this money that was being willed or bequested to them. The great advantage too is that as you distribute money, you are not lessening the impact and the future of the organization because nothing is really one time only. Yeah, what's really great, and I love to emphasize with people who tend to look at the dollars that they give, they want to look at the accountability behind those dollars as to who they pass them to. And there's two important points. For every dollar that you would donate to the foundation, I never spend it. It will never get spent. It will always remain within our principal pool and then we'll always live off the interest of it. So first of all, no matter how it's managed, and it's been managed very well, you never have to be at risk with that money. That's not a concern. The other thing that I always try and emphasize with people is there's a double level of accountability. If you donate to the Community Foundation, then we take those funds in and we're held accountable by Canadian Revenue Agency and the laws and the rules of the BC Society Act that govern a nonprofit, and we give our money to nonprofits. So you're getting a double level of accountability behind any donation that you give.
And so in many ways your dollar goes twice as far in some sense,
it's
because
great.
part of it stays with the foundation to help build up the principal and increase the amount that you can give out to nonprofits in future years.
Yeah, and what's so fantastic about this model as well is we're taking care of immediate needs because we're granting every year within a granting cycle that we have. But as well, that money is staying there forever. So we haven't, how would I say, disadvantaged the future or the present by what we do. We're always here and the money will live in perpetuity for us.
So you mentioned nonprofits. Where does the money go?
Oh, we have a variety of nonprofits that would benefit from us. There'd be about 30 so far in our community that have benefited over the years. The first grants were given in 2001, and with that pool of money, it was a few $1,000s that was granted. But I'm really pleased to say that this year during our granting cycle, we have available $25,000 to our community. Yeah, we're very proud of that. And so what you would see is a variety of things. You'd see Campbell River Search and Rescue, Tidemark Theatre Society. You'd see youth programs through the John Howard Society, a wonderful program that I feel fortunate to have even learned about, where youth are being trained in job skills, but at the same time they're donating their time to low-income seniors in our area. So those are just some examples of who would benefit from our grants.
So I think I heard you say about 1,000 the first year?
Well, it was a few thousand, yeah. In 2001, it was our first granting year once the money began to accumulate and the income could be taken from it.
So in the space of a little over 10 years,
Yeah.
you've had roughly a tenfold increase in what you've been able to distribute.
Exactly, and yet, interestingly enough, for how we are in the community, people are very unaware of who we are.
Well, that's where I was leading, because we hear so much these days. There are so many different groups that are out for your charitable donation, and in this town is no exception. The Campbell River Community Foundation does not automatically spring to mind when I try to list those. Do you guys have an image problem?
Yeah, I don't know if the image is the issue, the awareness is the issue. Is really, even myself, when I was first introduced to it by one of the former chairs, Lynn Ben-Dixon, and I really hope she get a chance to see this, because I'll say, she's the one who brought it to me and got me interested in what was happening here. I had never heard of the Community Foundation. There are certainly a core group of people in the community that have been involved, who've been active donors. There's an annual golf tournament that's now in, I believe, its 6th or 7th year of operation, a fantastic, and our major fundraiser, by the way. But that seems to be the group who understands that we exist. They don't always maybe understand how we operate, but they at least understand that we exist. But definitely awareness is an issue, and I've taken on the mandate as chair to see if we can change that, and thank you for this opportunity to come on FaceTime and at least talk about the foundation.
So how long have you been the chair?
Not very long. It's been about 10 months, and I have a 2-year term in which to be chair, and prior to that I sat on the board as just a regular board member with a portfolio of marketing.
So what was the impetus that got you involved in the first place?
Great question. Well, Lynn Ben-Dixon can be a very persuasive person. No, but really it was, for me at the time, I was just finishing up my MBA studies. And I always love to give back to the community. I try and find different ways to give back. And this seemed to be the way that I could begin to understand the financial model of what was happening and apply some of my learning from the MBA to that. It was just a slightly more sophisticated model for a nonprofit. And I started digging in and realized there was a bit of a niche in things that I could do to contribute.
And so you've worked your way up to the chairman.
Yeah, as we know in nonprofits, sometimes it's more acclamation than anything else.
Maybe you've been voluntold, is that?
Voluntold is a great, no, they're really a great board to work with, and I was very happy to take on chair, but I've asked for their patience. I've not been the chair of a nonprofit before, and I'm going to have my style and my way of doing things, and I always appreciate when they give me feedback as to how it's going or what I'm doing.
Now you mentioned fundraisers. You have a number. You have bigger and little ones. You recently had a luncheon with Michael Campbell
Yes, we
at the
did.
Tidemark.
Yeah, we were really proud to bring Michael Campbell to the Tidemark Theatre. We had what we'd consider like a lunch and learn session. He's just such a fantastic business analyst to listen to. He's very entertaining and probably about the nicest person I've ever met. I just was so shocked when I met him. I knew that he was a lovely man, had a nice reputation, but honestly, truly, I got to spend time with him in the green room before the event and can tell you that was a very, very wonderful time to talk about trends and what's happening in the economy with him before he even went out on stage.
Brother of our former premier and very
yes.
much, I think, involved in foundations himself.
He's actually, I believe, if it's still true, he is the chair of the BC Special Olympics.
Ah.
That's the nonprofit of choice, I believe, for him.
So once again, our intrepid FaceTime Streeter team went out to join Michael Campbell and the likes of the Campbell River Community Foundation at the Tidemark Theatre, and we asked, what is the value to you of the Campbell River Community Foundation? Let's have a look at that.
Great.
Community foundation in a community the size of Campbell River is invaluable, and I have been a big supporter since it started. I feel that there's an awful lot of organizations within our community that get a lot of value out of the contributions that are made through from the community foundation to the various groups that can use the extra funding to better their services and their product in the community.
Well, I think community foundations as a whole, especially as the government is sort of backpedaling and getting out of providing support for arts and nonprofits, community foundations I think are going to become much more important. Their role is going to become much expanded, and there's going to be a lot expected for them to make sure that communities are growing and becoming the places where people want to live.
It's an excellent way for let's just say the more successful people within our community to donate their time, efforts, and monies into programs that can be spread throughout many different social and socioeconomic groups within the community to make it a stronger community.
The other charities, the money might leave town, but it comes back in many shapes and forms. But this actually stays dollar for dollar in Campbell River, which is important to me, and it's important to a lot of the sponsors that donate to it.
The value of a community foundation in a community like Campbell River is that it helps us continue to support ourselves. It's a local group that can look at the local needs and assess year to year where some funding can be really helpful. So I think it's a really good way of kind of keeping money within the community and having good local people figure out kind of where that money can be best spent each year.
Shannon, what do we need you for? They gave you a pretty good sales pitch right there.
Yes, great.
One of the topics brought up, and we hear this from lots of charities. It feels, or nonprofits, I should say, it feels as though year after year the government is stepping back. Provincial, federal, everybody is stepping back from certain areas and expecting somebody to fill the void. Do you get that feeling, at least with the Campbell River Community Foundation, that there is never a shortage of need areas where these dollars can go?
Yeah, definitely. Dan, it's one of the biggest concerns that we have, and we're very proud to say that we are here for the long term. The government, they're going to do what they're going to do. They'll fly by and drop money off when it's election time sometimes, and as we're hearing on the news this morning, Courtney's hundreds of thousands of dollars being dropped off for things like that, that's what they're always going to do. If we can separate ourselves from that and instead say to ourselves, how can we be more self-sustaining? How can we, within the bounds of our own community, understand what our own needs are, short and long term, and work within it? And I think the Community Foundation is a fantastic answer for that. I believe it's going to be a continuing trend. I think you're going to see the government get out of many businesses that they've been in before that they were running as arms of their government, and you're going to see all this need just continue to build.
Major selling point when you can say the dollars all stay here.
Yeah, it is a major selling point because for some philanthropists, some donors, it's really, or even our sponsors, they'll say to us, we get concerned that it's a big national nonprofit, we don't understand what happens with it, and we can't see our dollars, which we've earned in this community, staying within our community. And so I think we have a great answer for that.
not a lot of overhead, administrative? People always try and factor that in too when they're trying to make the biggest bang for their buck.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the great misnomers about our foundation is that a foundation kind of has a bit of a view that it is somehow very elitist and that it has a very large pool of money. I can tell you that we operate on about $10,000 a year or less, and that includes everything from insurance that we have to carry for directors to having paid executive director. And our executive director works on 2 key projects a year and averages about 12 hours a month of paid time. The rest is all volunteer time in which to run this foundation. That's our board of directors volunteers as well as committees and our golf tournament committee, which is a phenomenal group of people.
Now we've mentioned visibility, awareness. You've been at this 10 months now. What do you see as challenges that you have to deal with for the Campbell River Community Foundation over and above general awareness?
Well, yeah, awareness is going to be my first challenge, of course, going out there and saying I am the chair of things like that. The next one is always our operating endowment. What I would love to see happen is that as our funds begin to grow, we've hit the $1 million mark, we also begin building a pool of money for an operating endowment, and that income that we receive off of that money will help offset our admin costs. We're always behind. Just something as simple as HST rolling into the cost of our annual dinner on the catering bill or in the rental of our hall. That has a significant impact on what it is we can do going forward. We're always looking for donations of everything from postage to time and hours spent on things. So it's really, that's one of the key things that I'm keeping my eye on. I think that people don't like to hear the word risk, but I believe as you opened the show, you talked about foundation of something, like foundation of a house. You would never build a 4,000 square foot house and not have the money to keep the lights on. And so I want to make sure that we have a large endowment for our community and that we begin building an operational endowment that'll then produce income that'll allow us to always have the admin money we need to keep that $1 million or more flowing back out to the community without being always dependent. It's just risky to me. It's a little bit risky. I don't like that.
So does the Campbell River Community Foundation then have this group of financial gurus who sit around and decide, gee, we've got $1 million here, where do we get the best bang, where should we be investing? Is that an ongoing rolling process?
Yeah, it's interesting because that's actually changing. When we first started, we worked in partnership with the Vancouver Foundation. They have a team of investors, very brilliant investors, that help us invest our money and get the income back from it. But we're changing that model. We're looking now at how can we invest the money locally with local institutions. So we've sent out requests for proposals and said who can help us manage our money now within our community. So we'll always have the funds with the Vancouver Foundation, but we're now saying, can we now keep these funds in? Are we sophisticated enough to be able to begin managing our own money? And I have to tell you, I always laugh about, I call them the trifecta of brilliance that sit on my board, and that's Gary Griffin from CIBC, Brad Piercy from MNP, and Terry Gwilliam, who's at Leadus Investment Council. I've got a fantastic financial planner, commercial business guy, and an accountant sitting on my board, and they help us with that side of things. They form the investment committee for us, and they bring back the information and educate me as well as to what is to be done.
So if you can find local areas to invest, then you're once again branching out the impact on the dollar if you're actually helping people by investing in them locally as well.
Well, I just to clarify that point, it doesn't mean that necessarily all the money will be invested locally, it will be managed locally. So that's the part that I want to be clear of, that we have to make sure that we are mitigating our risks by spreading out our portfolio appropriately so that we don't concentrated in a single area or a single industry. That's a little too risky to do.
So fundraising, you do the big golf tourney.
Well, we have this amazing golf tournament committee that does the golf tournament, led by the effervescent Scotty McLaren.
Who we saw in the clip there.
Yes, it was wonderful to see him on the clip, and this year getting strong support from Amanda Raleigh at Seymour Pacific and Terry Gwilliam stepping in, not to mention another group of individuals all under them that put on a golf tournament. This year, Friday, May 25th, I believe, is the date for that tournament. And it's kind of a premier golf event, which means that it's all-inclusive. 3 meals are served, big gala event at the community center afterwards.
You did the Michael Campbell luncheon. Are there other smaller type events that are bringing contributions in?
You know, interestingly enough, not many. We are really looking for those third-party partners who are going to do things with us. I received an email the other day and waiting for something to get announced. A local organization is sponsoring an event and said that they would like to give part of the proceeds to us. And we're thrilled. This is very new for us to actually have third-party fundraisers because of the awareness piece, because we're so small. And I think this is going to be fantastic and a big change for us. We gave out a loud cheer a couple months ago at a board meeting when we actually received an unsolicited donation from someone in the community. They had held a garage sale. I won't reveal their name for confidentiality reasons, but they had held a garage sale and decided to give the proceeds to us. And we thought as a foundation it was a sign that something was shifting and changing for us, and we were just thrilled.
So how do you, any other plans? Like, how do you boost this awareness? It seems maybe you're starting to see some payback for that. What else have you got in mind?
You know, there are a number of leaders in our community who have, I must never negate to mention them as well. There's a number of leaders in our community that started family funds or business funds with us and have been contributing annually to those. So what you see is individuals who will start a fund under a name. So, you know, maybe it's the Brown Family Fund, and they'll commit to making maybe a 5-year commitment to contribute $1,000 a year or something like that. They also have a choice if they wish to make that contribution and direct it towards a particular field of interest. For example, maybe youth or children who have physical challenges, something like that. So we have always had that money that has been rolling in for us, and I believe that that's going to get a little more active in the next few years. We have a more Skookum committee that'll be looking after that.
Now, there are all sorts of groups in the community that can benefit from the funds that come from the Community Foundation. You're currently in the midst of another application cycle.
Yes, we are. This is called our granting cycle. And what we do is we post on our website, crfoundation.ca, www.crfoundation.ca. We post an application for grants, and we ask that those grants are going to have to be in by Friday, April 4th. For this year's cycle. It is for programs and for activities that are happening within this calendar year. And we have, like I said, I mentioned before, we have about $25,000 that is available for granting this year. Last year we had 22 applications for those grants, and nine different organizations received funding from that.
Now, we keep coming back to this theme of things are changing. Nothing is static.
Yeah.
The nature of charitable donations, the nature of the foundation. Can we broaden it a little bit further? The nature of philanthropy. There, I said it.
Yeah, good for you.
Do you see a change there? Is there a shift happening?
Yeah, I would say that there's kind of a long-term trend on one side, and then the other side I'm seeing something kind of a bit more generational that I'm quite curious about and trying to read up about. The long-term trend that I'm seeing is an ongoing need for incredible transparency and accountability on behalf of the nonprofits. So what I'm hearing from the donors is that they really want to look inside the financial statements and have a good look at who they are giving their money to, what are the overhead costs of that money. That's what they're saying to me. That's the kind of feedback I'm getting from donors and sponsors. So that has been a trend that's been around for a little while, but I don't know how much power or pressure that particular donor group has had over those nonprofits, or whether they've been as responsive to it. It's getting to a more sophisticated level is what I'm hearing. The nonprofits are coming back and saying what people are demanding or want to know about us. And I think good for them. They want to know where their money's going. And I can feel that as a chair as well, that coming back to me. On the other side of things, when we're talking about donors, is a fascinating trend of values-based, kind of strategic giving that's happening. The baby boom generation, as we know, is aging, and they're also receiving the wealth from the Depression era generation before them, the transfer of wealth. And when they're talking about giving, they're really talking about values that are important to them or to their organization, and how do they align their giving to that. So in other words, how does it move forward anything that they feel is important to the communities that they're involved in, or particular needs in their community that they're seeing? And that's a very important trend that we're seeing, is that we're seeing financial advisors sitting down now and having really strong discussions around, so what are your values? What is important to you? And how do I align your giving to that?
So on both sides, you've got to be more accountable than ever before.
Yeah, and I think we should really welcome that. I think some nonprofits would say we've always have been, and good for them. I think other nonprofits may have struggled to have the manpower to do that, and it could be an growing issue for them.
So now all these groups, you're saying up to 25 groups perhaps, or 20, 25, can be receiving grants as part of this grant cycle. Is there room for more awareness raising there?
Yeah, I think so as well. We try and do, we work with the Volunteer Center as well as a network of individuals that I've kind of got on emailed bulletins to let them know that when our grant cycle opens and to get that word and information out there. But of course, if people fit the criteria for what it is that we're looking for a grant, which is available on our website, we welcome those people to submit their application to us. The number of grants that are received are all dependent on what that particular committee decides to do. The grants committee is made up of not only individuals from our board, but also members of our community. So we're really pleased to have them participate and help assess where they think the greatest needs are.
So www.crfoundation.ca,
yes.
The grant application process is all laid out there.
Yes, it is.
April 4th, time running short.
Time running short for this year, yes.
One would hope you have most of your applications already.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. I want everyone to know that that money is available to them, and we'll just be so excited when it does get announced and go out.
So no pressure. Give me the pitch.
Yes.
Why give to the Campbell River Community Foundation?
Well, I think the greatest thing that we can offer anyone is that we're here giving back to our community already. We've given out over $125,000 to our community since our inception. We hold a $1 million fund, and we look forward to being here for the long term as well.
You've obviously put a fair bit of time into this. What does it do for Shannan Brown personally? Why do you do this? Why do you enjoy this?
Do you know, it's more the learning than anything. I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm really enjoying that. It's just one way to give back to my community. I'm a longtime Campbell River resident, having graduated high school here, always kind of leaving and coming back, and I feel that I love to give my time to my community.
So the golf tourney's coming up.
Yes.
The deadline for the applications is coming up much sooner. Mm-hmm. Anything else? Have I missed anything?
It's Community Foundation Week, the last week in May, capped off by our golf tournament. How about that?
So you have the big week, and then you finish with the golf tournament.
Yeah.
So lots to look forward to, lots to consider in terms of raising the profile of the Campbell River Community Foundation. Lots being done now.
Thank you.
My guest has been Shannan Brown. She's chair of the Campbell River Community Foundation, which you will be hearing more about, I am sure, in the days and weeks to come. Don't forget to check them out at www.crfoundation.ca. Thank you very much. Of course, we do have a little business to take care of as well. We'd like to hear what you think of FaceTime, and here's how you do it. You can like us on Facebook. Like us, please. Please like us. That's www.facebook.com/FaceTime4U for the number 4, or you can email us at face-time@shaw.ca. And that's probably the easiest way to do it. And so ends FaceTime number 5 with Shannan Brown, chair of the Campbell River Community Foundation. Join us next time for FaceTime with North Island MLA Claire Trevena. And thanks for sharing some FaceTime.